Let me ask you something real. When was the last time comfort made you stronger? When was the last time an easy day changed your mindset, sharpened your discipline, or forced you to grow? It didn't. The days that transformed you were the ones that hurt. The moments that reshaped you were the ones that tested you. Pain is not just part of the journey. Pain is the foundation of strength. Every strong individual you admire has a history of struggle behind them. You see confidence, but you don't see the rejection that built it. You see success, but you don't see the failures that refined it. You see composure, but you don't see the chaos they survived to develop it. Strength is never born in comfort. It is constructed in resistance. Think about physical training for a second. When you lift weights, your muscles tear. That tearing is painful. It burns. It strains. But that exact strain is what forces adaptation. The body responds to stress by becoming stronger. Your mind works the same way. When you face emotional pain, financial struggle, public embarrassment, or personal loss, your mental fibers are being tested. If you endure and respond correctly, they rebuild stronger. Pain forces awareness. When you fail, you are forced to analyze. When you lose, you are forced to reflect. When you suffer, you are forced to think differently. Comfort allows you to drift. Pain demands that you pay attention. It demands that you adjust. It demands that you evolve. And evolution is the birthplace of strength. There is a reason people who have been through real hardship carry themselves differently. There is a depth in their eyes, a steadiness in their voice, a calmness in their reactions. That calmness is not accidental. It is earned. When you have faced situations that truly tested you, small inconveniences stop shaking you. Minor criticism stops breaking you. Temporary setbacks stop frightening you. Your threshold rises because your experience has expanded. Pain also eliminates illusions. It strips away the version of yourself you pretend to be and reveals who you actually are. You might believe you are patient until frustration hits. You might believe you are confident until rejection arrives. You might believe you are disciplined until temptation appears. Pain exposes the gap between who you think you are and who you truly are. And that exposure, as uncomfortable as it is, gives you a target for growth. Many people run from pain because it feels like punishment. But pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It prepares you for higher levels of responsibility. It prepares you for bigger challenges. It prepares you for moments that require composure under pressure. Without earlier struggles, you would not have the capacity to handle greater ones. Imagine two individuals. One has lived a life of ease, avoiding risk, avoiding confrontation, avoiding discomfort. The other has taken risks, faced rejection, endured failure, and kept moving forward. When both encounter a serious crisis, who remains steady? The one who is already trained in adversity. The one who understands that pain is temporary, but growth is permanent. Pain also builds internal proof. Every time you survive something difficult, you collect evidence that you can endure. That evidence becomes unshakable confidence, not loud confidence, not arrogance. Real confidence rooted in memory. You remember the nights you thought you wouldn't make it, but did. You remember the losses that felt unbearable, but eventually strengthened you. That memory becomes your armor. There is power in knowing you have been tested. There is power in knowing you have faced storms and stayed standing. That knowledge cannot be taken from you. It is not dependent on opinions. It is not dependent on applause. It is earned through experience. Avoiding pain keeps you fragile. Embracing it makes you durable. The fragile man is controlled by circumstances. If things go well, he is stable. If things go wrong, he collapses. The durable man remains grounded regardless of the situation because he understands struggle. He expects it. He adapts to it. Pain expands your limits. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine. Each challenge increases your capacity. Each hardship stretches your endurance. Over time, your baseline for what is hard shifts upward. You become capable of more simply because you have endured more. When you start seeing pain as training instead of tragedy, your mindset changes. Instead of asking why something difficult is happening, you begin asking what it is teaching you. Instead of shrinking under pressure, you lean into it. Instead of fearing discomfort, you use it as a signal that growth is near. Strength is not a gift. It is a response. A response to resistance, a response to difficulty, a response to pain. And every time life tests you, it is offering you a choice: remain the same or become stronger. Let's be honest with ourselves. Most people are not struggling because life is too hard. They're stuck because life is too comfortable. Comfort feels good. It feels safe. It feels deserved. You wake up when you want. You scroll for hours. You avoid confrontation. You delay difficult decisions. You choose the easy option again and again, and you call it balance. But what you're really building is a cage made of convenience. Comfort is seductive because it doesn't look dangerous. It looks harmless. What's wrong with relaxing a little more? What's wrong with taking it easy today? What's wrong with avoiding that uncomfortable conversation or skipping that hard workout? Nothing seems wrong in the moment. That's how comfort traps you. It doesn't destroy you instantly. It slowly weakens your edge. It slowly lowers your standards. It slowly convinces you that average is acceptable. Greatness has never been born from ease. The moment you choose comfort over challenge, you choose stagnation over growth. Every time you avoid something difficult, you train your brain to escape pressure instead of confront it. And the more you escape, the smaller your world becomes. You start organizing your entire life around avoiding discomfort. You don't apply for the job because you might get rejected. You don't approach the opportunity because you might fail. You don't speak up because you might be judged. Comfort becomes your priority, and courage disappears. Look at your habits. They reveal everything. If your days are designed around what feels good instead of what builds you, you are drifting. Great men design their days around discipline, not desire. They wake up early not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. They train when they're tired. They work when they're uninspired. They handle responsibilities when others procrastinate. That consistent choice of discomfort is what separates them from the crowd. Comfort weakens your tolerance for pressure. When everything in your life is easy, the smallest obstacle feels overwhelming. A little criticism feels like an attack. A small failure feels like the end. A minor inconvenience ruins your mood. Why? Because you've trained yourself to expect smooth roads. But life is not designed to be smooth. Life is unpredictable. It's competitive. It demands resilience. If you haven't trained for difficulty, you will break the moment real adversity arrives. There's a reason why people who chase comfort often feel empty. They have entertainment, distraction, and convenience, yet they lack fulfillment. That emptiness comes from unused potential. Deep down, you know when you're capable of more. You feel it when you waste time. You feel it when you choose the easy path. That quiet voice inside you whispers that you're playing small. Comfort might protect you from stress, but it also protects you from achievement. Greatness requires friction. It requires resistance. Just like muscles grow only when challenged with weight, your character grows only when challenged with hardship. If you remove resistance from your life, you remove growth. Imagine trying to build strength without lifting anything heavy. It's impossible. The same applies to your mindset. If you never push beyond what's easy, your mental toughness remains underdeveloped. Comfort also destroys urgency. When things are good enough, you stop striving for better. You settle into routines that feel safe. You convince yourself there's always tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year. And one day you wake up realizing you've been busy but not progressing, active but not advancing, comfortable but not accomplished. The dangerous part is that society encourages this mindset. It sells convenience as success. It promotes ease as achievement. Everything is designed to remove effort from your life. Food delivered instantly, entertainment available endlessly, opinions validated automatically. You don't have to struggle for anything anymore. And because you don't struggle, you don't grow. Because you don't grow, you don't evolve. And because you don't evolve, you remain replaceable. When you choose discomfort deliberately, something changes inside you. You start building control. You realize you don't need perfect conditions to perform. You don't need motivation to act. You don't need applause to continue. You become self-driven. That internal drive cannot be developed in comfort. It is forged when you do what's necessary instead of what's pleasurable. Think about the areas of your life where you feel frustrated. Your body, your finances, your discipline, your confidence. Now ask yourself honestly, have you been choosing comfort in those areas? Have you been avoiding the hard conversations, the hard training sessions, the hard sacrifices? The answer is usually yes. And that awareness is powerful because it means the solution is clear. Growth begins the moment comfort stops being your priority. When you remove comfort as your main objective, you start making different decisions. You start leaning into difficulty instead of backing away. You stop asking, what's easiest? And start asking, what builds me? That shift alone changes your trajectory. It sharpens your focus. It increases your resilience. It raises your standards. And when your standards rise, your results follow. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is not a personality trait reserved for a chosen few. It is not luck. It is not talent. Discipline is constructed layer by layer through moments you would rather avoid. It is built in the seconds when your alarm rings and every part of you wants to stay in bed, but you sit up anyway. It is built when your body is tired, your mind is distracted, your emotions are unstable, and you still choose to execute the task in front of you. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait to be in the mood. But discipline has nothing to do with how you feel. In fact, discipline is born in direct opposition to your feelings. When you feel lazy and still act, when you feel afraid and still move forward, when you feel doubt and still commit, that internal battle is where discipline is formed. Suffering is the training ground. When things are easy, you don't need discipline. If you enjoy every task, if every day flows perfectly, if no resistance exists, there is no need for control. But the real world doesn't operate like that. You will be tired. You will be stressed. You will be disappointed. You will be tempted. And in those moments, suffering becomes the weight you lift to strengthen your self-control. Think about physical training. Muscles grow when they are pushed to the point of strain. The burn, the discomfort, the repetition when you want to quit, that's where growth happens. Your mind works the same way. Every time you push through mental discomfort, you are increasing your capacity. The first time you force yourself to do something difficult, it feels overwhelming. The second time, slightly easier. The third time, manageable. Eventually, what once felt impossible becomes routine. That is how discipline compounds. It begins painfully. It begins awkwardly. It begins with resistance. But with repetition, it becomes identity. You are no longer someone who tries to be disciplined. You are someone who executes regardless of circumstance. And that transformation only happens through consistent exposure to hardship. Suffering strips away excuses. When you are placed in situations that demand performance despite discomfort, you realize how much control you actually have. You discover that you can operate while tired. You can focus while stressed. You can stay calm while under pressure. That discovery builds confidence, and that confidence reinforces discipline. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop creating elaborate reasons to delay action. You simply act. The modern world makes this harder because it offers escape at every corner. Distraction is always available. Entertainment is always accessible. Comfort is always within reach. So when something feels difficult, the easiest option is to avoid it. But every time you choose avoidance, you weaken your discipline. Every time you choose confrontation, you strengthen it. Discipline is painful because it requires sacrifice. You sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term reward. You sacrifice convenience for progress. You sacrifice emotional comfort for growth. That sacrifice feels heavy in the moment. It feels unfair sometimes. You see others relaxing while you're working. You see others indulging while you're restraining yourself. But what you're really building is leverage. You're building control over your impulses. And a man who controls his impulses controls his destiny. There will be days when you don't want to continue. Days when your energy is low, your motivation is gone, and your environment is chaotic. Those are the defining moments. Not the days when everything aligns perfectly. The days when everything resists you. When you act despite that resistance, you are hardening your mindset. You are proving to yourself that your standards are stronger than your emotions. Over time, suffering changes your relationship with difficulty. Instead of fearing it, you start expecting it. Instead of complaining, you start adapting. Instead of collapsing, you start calculating. You become steady, predictable in your effort, reliable in your execution. People begin to trust you because you trust yourself. You know you will show up even when it's hard. That reliability is rare. Many people start strong when they feel inspired. Very few continue when the excitement fades. Discipline is what carries you after motivation disappears. It is the engine that keeps moving when emotions fluctuate. And the only way to strengthen that engine is through consistent exposure to discomfort. When you deliberately put yourself in challenging situations, you are training your nervous system to stay composed under stress. You are expanding your tolerance for pressure. You are teaching your brain that discomfort is not danger. It is simply part of the process. That realization changes everything. Tasks that once felt intimidating become manageable. Responsibilities that once felt overwhelming become structured. You operate with clarity instead of panic because you have conditioned yourself through repetition. Suffering also clarifies priorities. When you endure difficulty for a purpose, you become more focused. You waste less time. You complain less. You execute more. Your standards rise because you understand the cost of achievement. You respect the grind because you've experienced it, and that respect keeps you consistent. Every disciplined individual you admire has gone through phases of intense discomfort. Early mornings when no one was watching, late nights when exhaustion was real, rejections that tested their belief, failures that embarrassed them publicly. They didn't avoid those moments. They absorbed them. They used them as fuel. They understood that discipline is not built in comfort zones, but in pressure zones. When you embrace suffering as a tool rather than a punishment, your mindset shifts. You no longer see hard days as setbacks. You see them as opportunities to reinforce your control. You become intentional with your effort. You stop chasing ease and start chasing strength. And with each difficult choice you make, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who cannot be easily shaken. Responsibility is heavy. That's why most people avoid it. It's easier to blame, easier to complain, easier to point at circumstances, at other people, at bad luck. But the moment you decide to take full responsibility for your life, everything changes. The weight increases, yes, but so does your power. Because when you accept responsibility, you stop being a victim of events and start becoming the architect of outcomes. A man is not defined by how loudly he speaks or how confidently he walks into a room. He is defined by what he carries without dropping it. Responsibility is the invisible load. It's waking up knowing people depend on you. It's handling problems without announcing them to the world. It's solving issues quietly while others are still reacting emotionally. That quiet strength is what separates maturity from immaturity. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards reliability. Can you be counted on when things go wrong? Can you stay composed when others panic? Can you make decisions when the pressure is real and the stakes are high? Responsibility forces you into those moments. It doesn't ask if you feel ready. It demands that you become ready. When you avoid responsibility, you weaken yourself. Every time you say, "It's not my fault," you give away control. Maybe it wasn't your fault. Maybe the situation truly was unfair. But if you wait for fairness before you act, you will wait forever. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means deciding that regardless of what happened, you will respond with strength instead of excuses. Think about the areas in your life that frustrate you. Your finances, your body, your career, your relationships. Now imagine taking absolute ownership of each one. No blame, no justification, just ownership. That mindset is uncomfortable because it removes your escape routes. It forces you to confront your habits, your discipline, your decisions. But that confrontation is where growth begins. Responsibility builds structure in your life. When you know that your actions have consequences beyond yourself, you move differently. You think before you act. You plan before you decide. You consider long-term outcomes instead of short-term emotions. That shift transforms you from reactive to proactive. You stop living impulsively and start living intentionally. Carrying responsibility also builds resilience. When people rely on you, quitting is no longer an option. You push through fatigue because someone needs you at your best. You control your emotions because instability affects more than just you. You sharpen your skills because mediocrity is no longer acceptable. Responsibility forces evolution. There's a reason immature individuals chase freedom without accountability. They want the benefits of adulthood without the burden of duty. But real strength comes from accepting the burden. The weight shapes you, just like resistance builds muscle. Responsibility builds character. It teaches patience. It teaches foresight. It teaches sacrifice, and sacrifice is unavoidable. When you take responsibility, you give up certain comforts. You give up the luxury of inconsistency. You give up the excuse of laziness. You give up the idea that someone else will fix things for you. That can feel isolating at first. It can feel overwhelming. But within that pressure, something powerful develops: self-respect. There is a deep confidence that comes from knowing you handle your obligations. When bills are paid because you ensured they were paid. When goals are progressing because you stayed disciplined. When people feel secure because you stayed steady. That confidence is not loud. It doesn't need validation. It's internal. It's grounded in evidence. Responsibility also clarifies your identity. When you decide what you stand for and what you're accountable for, your decisions become aligned. You no longer drift aimlessly. You move with purpose because your actions are tied to commitments. You know who you are because you know what you're responsible for protecting, building, and maintaining. Pressure will test that commitment. There will be moments when everything feels heavy at once, problems stacking up, expectations rising, energy dropping. In those moments, it's tempting to retreat, to wish someone else would step in. But that is the exact moment responsibility defines you. Do you fold under the weight, or do you adjust your posture and carry it stronger? A responsible man understands that leadership begins with self-leadership. Before you guide others, you must control yourself, your habits, your words, your reactions. If you cannot manage your own behavior, you cannot manage greater duties. Responsibility starts internally and expands outward. When you embrace responsibility fully, you stop negotiating with your standards. You become dependable to yourself first. You follow through on promises you make in private. You execute tasks without external pressure. That self-trust becomes the foundation for everything else. Others begin to trust you because they sense that you trust yourself. Responsibility is not glamorous. It's not always visible. Often, it's quiet consistency. It's doing what needs to be done long after the excitement fades. It's showing up when applause is absent. It's maintaining structure when chaos tempts you to react emotionally. That consistency builds stability in your life and in the lives of those around you. When you truly accept responsibility, you stop asking, "Who will fix this?" and start asking, "What can I do right now?" That question shifts your energy from frustration to action. It transforms obstacles into tasks. It converts pressure into purpose. And with each problem you solve, your capacity increases. The weight doesn't get lighter, but you get stronger carrying it. Adversity doesn't ask for permission before it enters your life. It doesn't check if you're prepared. It doesn't care about your plans. It shows up unannounced, uninvited, and often at the worst possible time. And in that moment, when comfort disappears and certainty fades, something powerful happens. The mask comes off. The image you've built, the words you've spoken, the confidence you've displayed, all of it gets tested. Because adversity does not build character from nothing. It reveals what was already there. It's easy to look strong when everything is going well. It's easy to speak about resilience when you're winning. It's easy to act confident when you're supported, praised, and validated. But who are you when the support disappears? Who are you when the applause turns into criticism? Who are you when the plan fails and the future looks uncertain? That's where truth lives. Pressure is a spotlight. It exposes cracks you didn't know existed. Maybe you thought you were disciplined until exhaustion hit. Maybe you thought you were patient until someone disrespected you. Maybe you thought you were confident until you were rejected publicly. Adversity doesn't create weakness, it exposes it. And that exposure is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to show you what needs strengthening. When things fall apart, you have two choices. You can react emotionally, blame externally, and retreat internally. Or you can pause, observe, and respond with intention. The first reaction is instinctive. The second is cultivated. And that difference defines your character. Character is not what you display when life is smooth. It's what you demonstrate when life is chaotic. Think about the last time you faced real hardship. Maybe it was financial stress. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was failure after you gave everything you had. In that moment, your instincts kicked in. Did you collapse into self-pity? Did you lash out at others? Or did you take ownership and start searching for solutions? That response is a mirror. It reflects your internal foundation. Adversity also strips away ego. When you are humbled by circumstances, you are forced to confront reality without filters. The illusion of control fades. The image you carefully crafted loses relevance. All that remains is your ability to endure, adapt, and act. That raw state is uncomfortable, but it is honest. And honesty with yourself is where growth begins. There is a hidden gift in struggle. It clarifies your values. When everything is stable, you don't always know what truly matters to you. But when you're forced to choose under pressure, your priorities become clear. What are you willing to fight for? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you unwilling to compromise? Adversity sharpens those answers. It also reveals the strength of your discipline. Anyone can follow routines when conditions are ideal. But can you maintain your standards when life disrupts your schedule? Can you stay focused when distractions multiply? Can you control your emotions when frustration builds? Hardship tests consistency. It tests whether your principles are conditional or permanent. Many people believe they are strong until they are challenged. They believe they are loyal until loyalty costs them something. They believe they are determined until the road becomes steep. That's why adversity is necessary. Without it, you might live your entire life believing a version of yourself that has never been verified. Challenge verifies identity. And here's the reality: you cannot fake composure under pressure. In calm environments, you can perform confidence. Under stress, authenticity emerges. Your tone changes. Your decisions shift. Your habits either hold or collapse. The way you handle setbacks becomes your signature. People remember how you responded when things were difficult, not how you acted when everything was easy. Adversity also builds emotional depth. When you go through hardship and survive it, you gain perspective. Small inconveniences lose their power over you. Petty conflicts seem insignificant. You develop empathy because you understand struggle. You develop patience because you've experienced delay. You develop gratitude because you've felt loss. These qualities are not learned in comfort. They are earned in difficulty. There will be moments when adversity feels unfair, when you question why it's happening to you, when frustration tempts you to give up. But those moments are defining. They are crossroads. If you retreat, you reinforce weakness. If you advance, even slowly, you reinforce strength. Every response compounds. Every reaction becomes part of your character. The goal is not to avoid adversity. That's impossible. The goal is to prepare your mindset so that when it arrives, you are not shocked by it. You expect it, you accept it, you analyze it. Instead of asking, why me? You start asking, what is this revealing about me? That shift turns hardship into feedback. Character is not a speech you give. It's a pattern you live. It's how you handle delays, disappointments, and defeats. It's how you treat people when you're stressed. It's how you think when hope feels distant. Adversity removes performance and demands authenticity. And when you face it directly, without denial or excuses, you begin to see yourself clearly. Most people want to be remembered. They want respect. They want their name to carry weight when they're not in the room. They talk about impact. They talk about influence. They talk about building something meaningful, but very few are willing to pay the price that legacy demands. Because legacy is not built in comfort. It is carved out of sacrifice. You don't accidentally create a legacy. You choose it. And the moment you choose it, you are choosing a harder path. You are choosing long-term significance over short-term pleasure. You are choosing discipline when distraction is available. You are choosing effort when excuses would be easier. Sacrifice is the currency of legacy. Without it, all you have are intentions. Look at anyone who has left a mark in any field. Behind the recognition, behind the visible success, there are years of unseen commitment. Early mornings when no one was watching, late nights when fatigue was overwhelming, opportunities declined. Comfort delayed, pleasure postponed. The public sees the outcome, but the legacy was built in private decisions that required sacrifice. Sacrifice is misunderstood because it feels like loss in the moment. When you say no to something easy, you feel the tension. When you give up temporary enjoyment to focus on your mission, you feel isolated. When you invest time into growth instead of entertainment, you feel different from the crowd. That difference can be uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the dividing line between ordinary and unforgettable. Legacy demands that you think beyond yourself. It forces you to ask, what am I building that will outlast my moods, my impulses, my temporary desires? That question changes how you move. It changes how you spend your time. It changes what you tolerate. Because you begin to understand that every action either contributes to your long-term impact or subtracts from it. There is no legacy without consistency. And there is no consistency without sacrifice. You cannot build something meaningful if your commitment changes with your emotions. Some days you will not feel inspired. Some days you will doubt the process. Some days progress will be invisible. Sacrifice means you continue anyway. You show up anyway. You execute anyway. People often overestimate what they can achieve in a week and underestimate what they can achieve in a decade of disciplined sacrifice. Legacy is a long game. It's built brick by brick, decision by decision, habit by habit. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you lay another brick. Every time you choose responsibility over avoidance, you strengthen the structure. Sacrifice also requires clarity. If you don't know what you stand for, you won't know what to give up for it. When your purpose is vague, your discipline is weak. But when your purpose is clear, sacrifice becomes easier to justify. You understand why you are saying no. You understand why you are enduring difficulty. You understand that the pain has direction. There will always be distractions. There will always be shortcuts. There will always be opportunities to trade your long-term impact for short-term validation. The world rewards immediacy. It celebrates quick results. But legacy ignores urgency. It focuses on endurance. It asks, can you sustain effort long enough to create something undeniable? Sacrifice builds depth in your character. It strengthens your patience. It sharpens your focus. It teaches you to delay gratification without resentment. Instead of feeling deprived, you feel intentional. Instead of feeling restricted, you feel disciplined. That shift in perspective transforms sacrifice from something painful into something powerful. When you look back at your life years from now, the moments that matter will not be the easy ones. They will be the moments you pushed beyond your limits, the times you stayed committed when quitting was convenient, the seasons when you invested in growth instead of comfort. Those are the chapters that define your story. Legacy is not about fame. It's about impact. It's about who you become in the process of building something meaningful. It's about the standards you refuse to lower. It's about the discipline you maintain when no one is forcing you. It's about the example you set through your actions, not your words. Every sacrifice compounds. Every disciplined decision builds momentum. Every time you resist the easy path, you strengthen your foundation. Over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. People begin to notice the consistency. They begin to respect the resilience. Not because you demanded attention, but because your actions demanded recognition. The question is not whether sacrifice is required. It is whether you are willing to accept it. Because the price will be paid either way. You can pay in effort now and build something lasting, or you can pay in regret later when you realize you settled for less than you were capable of becoming. The weight of discipline is heavy, but the weight of unrealized potential is heavier. If you truly want your life to matter, if you want your name to represent strength, reliability, and purpose, then sacrifice cannot be optional. It must become part of your identity. It must become your standard, not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but consistently, deliberately, relentlessly. You've heard it all now. Pain builds you, comfort weakens you, suffering forges discipline, responsibility shapes your identity, adversity exposes your truth, sacrifice creates your legacy. None of it is easy, none of it is comfortable, but all of it is necessary. The man you want to become is not waiting on motivation, luck, or perfect timing. He is waiting on your decision to stop running from what's hard. Every challenge you face from this moment forward is either shaping you or shrinking you, depending on how you respond. You don't become strong by wishing for lighter weights. You become strong by lifting what's heavy. You don't build character by avoiding storms. You build it by standing firm in the rain. The world does not hand out respect for potential. It rewards proof. And proof is earned in struggle, in discipline, in sacrifice repeated daily without applause. So when life tests you again, and it will, don't ask why it's happening. Ask who you are choosing to become because of it.